Ladies and gentlemen, welcome by the second installment of Into the Deep. I'm Humo van Ekelen, with my co-host together, Robin Zielhorst, Timon Kruidenier.
Lovely.
Well, like Robin just said, well, no, probably not. Like I just said... Ja, is oké. Deze...
Do we need to
Explain that one.
Ja.
There's a holiday thing called Sinterklaas, and you have these little, like oven baked
Gingerbread.
Is it gingerbread?
Kind of. But a little different.
But then less ginger and more licorice kind of. Well, not licorice, but like how do you say it?
It's like pumpkin spices, basically. Pumpkin pie spices.
Oh, nice. What's that called?
But that's not in kruidnoten, that's in pepernoten.
Ah. I just
What
ate a whole
great
bag.
What a great start.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So, and they're awesome.
Well, that's, I think you guys will agree that the Dutch cuisine is like pretty much the most crap cuisine on the earth.
What do you mean? We got pizza,
Except-
we got lasagna,
Oh, yeah, that's so typical
we have
Dutch.
shawarma.
Well, I think we got a lot of potato meals, right? With potato as main dish. But
Yeah,
it's still
yuck.
there's a potato, a vegetable, and meat. Like it's the most
Yeah.
simplest meal you can.
But
No.
my point being is that candy kind of rocks. You know, we have lots of like Indian flavored. Think from back of our trading day. You know, was the influence of getting all the spices here, and that's what made our candy so like Indian spiced, or like Indonesian
it?
spiced. Yeah, I think so.
Like
Anyway,
what? Like what?
well, all our candy, like the stroopwafels, stroopwafels.
Is it Indian spiced?
Well, it's all like cinnamon and nutmeg and cloves and that kind of trio.
That's
And
interesting.
ginger.
Wow, I never thought about that.
Really?
Yeah, so you're talking about those kind of sweets and not just like the pure sugar that comes out of the factory, the Chupa Chups crap and shit.
Yeah, but that's not
No.
really Dutch, is
No,
it? Yeah. Oh, of course, we also have the licorice thing, but
No.
so that's something different. Yeah.
Right.
And drop
Anyway.
Salt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is
drop and licorice.
en dropjes.
Great.
great.
So we'll edit this later into something interesting.
No, there's no editing. We want to prime ourselves, and this is a good moment to talk about maybe
Those-
that. Anyways, is
Those
that
poor viewers that have to go through these
Through
first 5 minutes of excruciating, uninteresting candy talk.
exactly?
So, about kruidnoten, what's so special?
Yeah, so what we're going to try is do this whole thing live in 2 weeks on the day of the release.
Yep.
And that's also why we're trying not to edit these, even though they're pre-recorded. But we're trying to keep it real. So, having said that, maybe move on to something more interesting than kruidnoten?
Maybe. So we have the FaceDem video released as of today. And I think responses have been good until now. I haven't seen much of them, actually. I saw 4. 4 replies by the YouTube video that liked them. But have you guys seen more? Or
Yeah, I checked our social media and responses are very good.
nice.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about it. I think it's maybe also cool to summarize a bit. It's not just FaceDem we have released, but now we have released all 4 singles before actually releasing the whole album. So with FaceDem today was the latest single release. So now we have 4 songs that we felt represents our album the best, right? Going from atogenic medium tempo to lower, more dramatic to some lighter to the super heavy stuff. Maybe it's cool to talk a bit about that and then end with FaceDem, because that's a strange duck in the group, but
As we say here.
yeah, the ugly, well, not the ugly swan, but yeah, the odd one. But But yeah, I think maybe it's cool to talk a bit about all the songs we've released so far, basically, and why, and what else to expect from the remaining songs on the album.
Well, that brings me to a point that I wanted to tell you guys anyways. Like, in the past couple of weeks, there's been quite a lot of interviews, like both through Skype and written, and I told you that. But actually, 3 remarks I got about specifically about the song Your Night, My Dawn. Was one of them told me like, well, the first half of the album I like best, and then, or first 2/3, and then the last one doesn't resonate so much with me. So that includes that song. But then the next 2 guys had pretty much the opposite opinion. So that's always cool to hear, you know, like different flavors and different tastes for different people. But those last 2 people, both Your Night, My Dawn were their favorite song. And for the people who are listening and who have no idea, that is, you know, Face Them is kind of the odd one out in that it's the most energetic, but Your Night, My Dawn is definitely the weirdest one out.
Yeah.
Like,
If
it's
I would say,
Try to.
If I would say if there's one weird song, it's definitely Your Night, My Dawn.
yeah. Maybe you can talk a little bit about it.
Or we save that for in 2 weeks once people actually get the chance to listen to it and talk about the 4 songs we already have.
I think
released.
that's a good idea.
Cliffhanger!
Yeah, keep attention. Yeah, because
Super weird.
Well, it's actually really interesting to talk about that song. I mean, you're totally right, but like, let's try to preserve it for in 2 weeks.
Yeah, sure, because
Cool.
that would be actually something we didn't talk about yet. Well, I just said that we're going to do some kind of live stream for the first time on the release date. And what would also be cool then is to actually do exactly what you were just saying, like talk about at least the songs we that are new at that point for the people, and maybe quickly go over the other songs if we have time for that. But
Cool.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's go back to Face Them for a second.
Okay.
We already mentioned on social media and in whatever news outlets where it gets posted that this song is actually the only song where like the seed, the embryo of the song didn't come from me, but it came from you. So talk to me about that.
Yes. Well, yeah, I think for all of you that are not up to date to our writing process or how we did things during this album, it was always the case that Timon came up with a little musical seed to bring in, like a vocal melody or a harmony or like a little small guitar part, you know, as few notes as possible to get the point across. And then the sparring session began, like where would we like to see this grow to? What do we hear in this? Where can we take it production-wise, composition-wise? And it's a really cool process. And once that is laid out and we can get together with the whole band, we start doing that. So we wrote a lot, rehearsing and playing, which we hadn't done in a long time as well. So that was fun. And so Face Them being a song that came from me, the little seed, that's, I think, it's cool. That's like, because we do it so early, it doesn't really matter, I guess, from which person the seed came from. But it was nice because it was the first one, so it was also a test for us, like how we how to deal with this, and also because it was like an odd one, not the odd one out. Let's save that for your night. But it was one odd out, an odd one out. Thanks. And it
So
was
what makes it odd then?
in our genre, I guess, or in our oeuvre, in our works, I think it is the energetic levels where it began with. That's the thing that got us attracted, right? I mean, I had some more material, but we filtered out the core parts, and that's the chorus part, and we built everything around it, again, like from scratch, multiple times, actually. So it was a song in that way that we needed to deconstruct sometimes a little bit more harshly than other songs maybe that got woven like, you know, easier going from beginning to end. We could build upon, and so this one was a little bit more hack and slash, and like it, don't like it, let it simmer for a little bit, which is always good, I think.
But it was written fast. I remember that. It was the last song we completed, and well, that's also because we had full focus on it for a little bit. But I think we did some fine tuning of like little rhythms and parts. But the gist of it, like the main thing, was like I think 2 weeks or something. It was like a quick one.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But to answer, I think in a way the high energy level, probably matching maybe feeling wise some Xavious energy, that was kind of new because we didn't on purpose purposely go for such thing on this record. We happen to like it, and I also think it's I like the song as well because it's one of the few songs where the tension bow, like the dynamic levels, is pretty set out. Like it goes from the start, basically never stops until you're well into the bridge. Like and and I like it. It was a personal how do you say it? Like a check mark for me because I personally feel we as prog whatever music fans, we tend to build stories within our songs with small beginnings and unfolding, you know, and getting to the big opus magnum on the end. Well, it's totally different. I just ignore Robin laughing at me.
That doesn't sound pretentious at all. We like to build stories with arches and.
Well, is it wrong?
No, you're right. I was just laughing about because it just sounds, you know, we're not playing songs, we're playing stories.
We're not playing games.
But your point being, if I may interfere, is that at least that's also a remark I remember I made shortly after we finished the album, is that I sometimes thought that we do that too much, like too much of like ups and downs within the songs instead of just like choosing more of an overall arc for one song, right?
Yeah.
And it's also interesting that I remember, I don't think you communicated that to me, that was your point with this song.
No.
And I remember also when you gave me the seed and there was more information that I kind of took away and then rebuilt, that I had the idea that I even wanted to do that more like than in the original demo, like keep just pushing in the song and not too much like, right?
Yeah.
So it's cool. That's something that happened like anyways so much in this process that we just agreed on things, right? Like just speaking and brainstorming about music, and then we thought the same and whatever. And it's just a cool thing that happens.
Yeah, but I think that was also a goal for this album, right? Quick decisions, go with your intuition, and not have a week-long discussion about, you know, maybe this bass note or that rhythm change, or just play what feels good and go with that, right?
Mm-hmm. Even in the end, we did simmer a long time on a lot of notes or hits or fills, because that's who we are. But you're totally right in that sense that the final parts were done way quicker than with Exvius.
Yeah. And I think also because we've been working with each other for pretty long time already, that it becomes we're easily on the same. How do you say that? Golflengte, the same wavelength. So we probably head in the same direction. And of course, we have discussions about, you know, the OC3 bass sound, why it sucked at that time and not anymore. But you know, stuff like that. But overall, I think we were pretty headed to the same direction and went pretty smooth.
Mm-hmm. And what I'd like to, what you were talking about earlier about the process of writing and everything, what I don't think is very clear to the outside world is that you just alluded to it a little bit, that, you know, we started collaborating at a very early stage. That wasn't like that with Exvius. You know, those compositions were like much more finalized by me and Michel, who wrote the music. And it's not like we wrote your parts, like, you know, you guys made obviously your own parts, but the rest was pretty much done. and that's very different for our oceans, at least on this record.
Yeah.
And so that was also for us like a big learning curve. We did many things differently than we did them before. And of course, that also brings like some moments of like disagreement,
Clash.
Yeah, there's these like we have these like idiosyncrasies in our taste that, for example, you hate. How do you say that in English? Like third in the bass? Can you say that? Or is it like first? first
the
version?
third, yeah,
or-
the
Minor-
third,
yeah,
yeah, the
of
first
third.
version of the. But yeah,
Yeah, and that's just a sound thing
Yeah,
that I
but
love
it's-
that, and I use it a lot.
Yeah,
But-
yeah, it's all it all depends on context, I guess. Because I think it was with the Egg and Bacon recordings that I actually preferred, and I actually suggested playing the third in the bass.
Holy moly! What song?
happened?
Where is it?
But
I didn't notice it even.
yeah, because it was from the F sharp 7th chord, and I wanted to play the A sharp because it gives more,
Yeah.
So in that
So in that context, I liked it, but overall, it just usually the way they use the third in the bass is it's just so cliche and cheesy, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it just I don't know.
But it's
Most
like
of the time, it just
we've discussed this many times because for me it's very interesting trying to understand why you like attach that emotion to that sound, because I don't
Yeah.
feel that. So now I know, but it's still hard to
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and the hardest part is that I don't always hate it. But there's just I guess it's just one of these. I don't know. Somehow it reminds me of the Beatles, or like those classic songwriters that just have these really cliche,
good selling hits.
we don't want to
big
sell.
stuffed bank accounts.
I hate that sound.
Yeah, I want to stay true and
That money
underground.
sound.
No, but
Yeah.
it's such a part of this logical.
Okay. Yeah, I think
that-
then my closest, now that you explain it that way, my closest, well, like kind of similar type of thinking that I used to have, like back in the day, I used to hate dominant chords for a long time. Just thought they would, and I just kind of steered away from them very consciously. And there was this flip like that happened at a certain point. Like first I got into like the whole alter type stuff because they are so nice with all the weird like mysterious sounds and whatever you can put on top. But then slowly taking those away, like, and now I love them when they're used, in the right place. But they have they invoke or can invoke exactly that thing that you just told me, like the Beatlesque, like kind of very
right.
functional songwriting thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. But that's actually funny. Just to circle back a little bit to what you've said before, we've been working so long together for such a long time that we know our things, and we know it more and more with every whatever spending the time spending together.
Yeah.
Which is nice because then you can basically keep that in mind when writing, and we did. But also when we talk to each other on that level, like, do you feel I hear some chords? Do you feel this kind of vibe or this and this band? And then and because we know each other so long, we know what we mean by that, right? We had those discussions, and we had those sessions listening to songs years and years back, and what do you like? And we were younger too, and that phase helps us now in just communicating and feeding each other, I guess.
Yeah, but it's also the way
each other out.
we explain stuff to each other, right? The nonsense musician. Maybe it's cool to have in the bridge more like a, something like that, and I do with the bass like boom on the fourth, and then and then it makes sense, and
I'll know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. But I sometimes I imagine someone else, a non-musician, standing in that room with us, and he's just like, "Okay, these guys are taking the piss at me because we're saying nothing. We're just making noise, and it somehow makes sense in our, in the vibe that we're in, and we know why we say stuff, but it's.
Yeah, probably very true. Like I don't.
Yeah, you
consciously-
love the bass,
I do that a
fretless
lot,
bass,
yeah.
which is like an octave or like a fifth, and like.
Yeah, I don't think about it very frequently, but like we just recorded like bass like last week for Egg on Bacon together, or you were recording, I was engineering, obviously. And that came up, right, at some point where you made a remark about that, about the type of communication we use instead of like just traditional like 30-second just make noises and but I think I always did that. I remember that from like I haven't thought about this for a long time, but I remember I did this spreekbeurt. How do you call these in English?
Presentation?
Speech?
Like presentations you have to do in like elementary school here and probably in other countries as well.
Yeah.
You pick a topic and you prepare something, to train public speaking, I guess. Terrifying at that age, I thought.
Yeah.
But I remember I did this one about volcanoes, and I loved volcanoes for some reason. And I described all the different volcanoes, and I made like different sounds with them. Like they do the and I remember the whole classroom reacting to that. And I was like, from that point on, I noticed that I do that a lot in communication, anyways.
That is fun. I think children in general do it more.
Yeah.
Or at least I used to yell like the whole neighborhood awake while I'm playing with little cars, like
Yeah, you still do that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I was about to say that, but I haven't stopped. Well, it is actually funny, but also I think it's logical, even though we are all like theoretically skilled and we could convey our ideas via theoret, E minor or 7 or whatever bullshit. But it's way more easier for a lot of things when just like mimicking it, right?
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah,
all
it's
have
quicker.
this, yeah.
And it's more, sorry. I also think it's more fun. It's more creative, and you're, in the zone of playing with your intuition instead of you're rationalizing everything and, oh no, I want to hear a minor third there. No, I want to hear the more, oh yeah, there it is. All right, cool.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Or translating the theoretical thing into it in order to feel it. Like, why don't do it right away? And also communicating, yeah.
I think that's something we we strive for, like in our writing anyways, like maybe, compared to other prog music, like if I can say this out loud, it's a little bit dangerous topic maybe, it's a lot of prog music to us is a little like, or to me, let me speak for myself, don't drag you into it. Sounds a little like too analytical, quickly to me. It starts to sound like musicians doing their trick. And for me, like a way to get away from that is to just, work more intuitively, like you just said, like trust your intuition and let that be your autopilot and not like some idea of like, theory and scales and all that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Of course, there's a lot of cool prog bands, but I've also heard a bunch of them that it just sound like they're like copy pasting their their exercises, and it's like, cool, all right, well, awesome that you can play it, but it doesn't sound musical to me, or it doesn't sound like it has a soul or feeling in it, something like that. Yeah.
So, do we want to discuss more of why we hate prog music?
Or should we tell more about Facetime?
Maybe. Where were we? I mean, the writing process, I think we told a bit like how that went. I especially like the song because of your solo. Your solo in the middle part, your nasty, dirty sounding. It's also, I definitely call it a solo because it like grabs that attention or it asks that attention. But it's really cool because it's something I haven't heard you done before. And I love your faster solos and all the stuff, with Exvius and But this was really, this felt like the right thing to do for you, like solo wise, but also like it's a gratifying feeling that you, to me personally, with your solo, really accentuated the style and the vibe of the song. Like, if it wasn't clear up to that point, you made it clear with the solo. Like what the vibe or the dirtiness like should be or could be before we.
Yeah, I think that I've been looking for a good use of like fuzz sounds for a long time. I love that sound. It's a very peculiar sound, and for the people who are not into like effects and everything, it's the very fucked up kind of fuzzy sounding. Well, it's obviously that's probably where the name comes from. It's fizzy and dirty, and it's not a clear cutting like distortion sound, but it's very woolly and messy. Especially the one that I used on there. It's this that Hendrix kind of. I think he was one of the first who made it popular. The Octavix or something.
Is it the round?
No, that's a fuzz phase.
Ah.
Anyway, it's an awesome sound. Yeah, you can like in certain like intervals you play together, just create these weird overtones. You get like wow kind of sounds. Yeah, I'm all for finding more places and more songs to use that in the future, because it's not only does it sound cool, it's also very much a lot of fun to just play it. And
yeah, it adds a lot to your tone, right?
Yeah.
It like to your of course, but to your standard distortion tone, and then you have the fuzz tone, which is like
it's almost like it's alive.
Yeah.
You know, whereas a normal distortion sound, it's much more predictable. You can like, for example, play some intervals and it creates some like overtones and whatever, but it's a static thing almost. And fuzz reacts in such a like lively way. It's like taming a beast or something. You know, you have to like that's how it feels.
Right? Yeah. I think. Yeah. Can you answer that question? I think that makes you play or think different about a solo, right? With that sound.
You have to, yeah. Because if you play what you normally play, at least I found, because also probably because I haven't used it that much in the past. So then if you do step into it, you see what works and what doesn't. And for this one, it's like I alternate like every 2 bars or whatever by playing the chord progression, like an arpeggio of the chord progression, and then some solo notes. And to get that progression out, you have to play some notes simultaneously. But it's very finicky as to what notes you can actually play together, because a lot of them just results in you don't hear anything anymore. So it's like you have to be kind of careful what choices you go for. But that's kind of the fun part.
Cool.
By the way, and something I was also thinking about a while ago when you said like it's one of the odd ones out, and you were explaining why. For me, a big difference is also the overall vibe it has, like the
hectic.
It's not so much that it's more open and uplifting, and it doesn't have. You know, a lot of the other songs, especially on this album, are emotionally heavy. I think you told me that as well. Like, I don't remember how you said it, how you phrased it.
Yeah.
Like zwaarmoedig, right?
Yeah. It's all very
moody
and heavy emotions.
Yeah.
Right.
And
it's all
and that makes sense because I've talked about it before, but. For me, when I write songs, they're, for Our Oceans especially, they're very much inspired by what happens in my life, just to portray like whatever's going on. And you guys know that I had some years that were not incredibly happy, and that's reflected on this album. Yeah. Which doesn't necessarily make for an easy listen. I think like some songs are pretty heavy to get through. And Face Them doesn't have that, and that's true. Like in hindsight, that's a factor that I now really love about that song. At first, I was a little unsure. I was like, "Does this fit with the rest of the songs?" but now it's actually a song I love listening to maybe most, because the other songs are kind of history now for me, you know. And I think I also communicated already to you guys that for a next album, I would prefer something more uplifting in general for the whole like arc of the album, and just also to represent where we are in our lives, because not only me, you guys also went through some darker times.
Yep.
Yeah, of course. But to a certain extent, that's also something I like about music, at least. You know, I don't like happy music. I don't like ska or carnival or whatever music. So I like the depth of it.
The genre Carnival, not the band Carnival, right?
No, the band Carnival I love.
Hey, by the way, we didn't talk about that last time. We talked about prog bands we love. Carnival, we all love.
Ooh,
Carnival.
yeah.
Oh
man,
so
I
sorry.
saw them live in Amsterdam. Blown away.
Yeah.
John Stockman with his bass sound live, man.
Yeah, but the vocalist, nice,
There we go,
nice
yeah.
communicating. but the singer is also, he was spot on. It was man.
Drummer is a beast live.
Yeah, but the whole band was so steady and solid.
Yeah.
Man, yeah.
Yeah. One of to me personally, one of the best prog rock bands ever. Like the way they can write songs, from more catchy stuff of Sound Awake to the later stuff, the way they can develop. And also they're one of the very few bands with two guitar players that often take up two totally different roles. I love that so much. Like you hear them all have different stories, and then just laying down the line, the other one doing something different. And then when it needs to get heavy, then you hear both guitars go down and put that. Oh man, they're masters.
Yeah, and I think what they do really great, or what I love about them, that they take one idea and they really expand on it. Like they take a bass groove or a bass fiddly thing, and that's really great. Really nice songwriting.
Yeah.
Carnival, you rock.
Yeah.
But in that sense, like they, coming back a little bit to that, like emotionally heavy music versus like happy. But happy, I agree. Like there's most happy music I can't stand, and it just doesn't vibe with my naturally depressive. I don't know. No, I just hate it. It's. Well, it depends on the context. If you're on vacation and whatever, and you hear some happy music, you can of course appreciate it. But it's not. It doesn't have to fulfill the same function as why we love to listen to certain music. But Carnival, they have some like kind of not happy but more uplifting music, right?
Yeah.
And that we all like, right?
Yeah.
So I really hope that. We talked about it among ourselves, to start writing sometime soon, and not to wait with it too long. And I really hope that all three of us stay in a little bit of a better place in life, and that it also reflects in the music. It would be, first of all, like, the first thing is obvious, that you hope for more happiness in your life, right? But the second part also, to do, again, something different is cool. Why repeat yourself anyhow? So...
Yeah, I think that's the factor that drives us the most, right? I mean, that's undiscussed and discussed topic. I think every album we did together, starting with Liminal already. What do we want different from the last album?
Yeah,
and that's something we will always keep doing, because, like you said earlier, perfectly, lyrically, but also musically, the music comes from where we are at this moment and how we feel, right? That's a direct translation of what keeps us. What keeps us going, what keeps us busy. And in that regard, it feels good to have laid a big egg like that, and and being able to see it and give it a name and maybe a genre, and then look forward to the next thing and see what we would like different. So we would like maybe to hear some more uplifting kind of spirits, but who knows?
Yeah. I think, if I always like to be honest and authentic, and don't make something you're not feeling. So if we're all in a better place, who will probably make
Exactly.
other music than when we're
Yeah.
all suicidal, depressed, in the
Yeah.
dark, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you'll get a different music from it. So-
And to comment a little on that, it's like I don't think we've ever, or I have never talked very openly about this, but one thing, well, we talked about it among ourselves again. The fact that when you start out as a musician, you tend to, I think most people tend to, or at least let's speak for ourselves, myself, is I tend, it was more like when we set out to write music, like, oh, we're really big fans of this band and this band, so we're gonna, now we do a riff that's kind of like this, and then we do something like that, and it's more like flattery and like, kind of copying your influences. But the older you get, like, it just, maybe some musicians stay or keep working that way, but for us, and especially this last album, there was very little thought as to we want to make this type of music. There was some discussions, but they were not very about musical direction, but there were like very just abstract kind of ideas. But more when the music that ended up on the album is just whatever happened. It's just whatever happened in our lives. And don't second guess yourself as to what comes out creatively.
Try not to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I can imagine that it's something. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking out loud. But since we've worked so much together and we've evolved, I guess, hopefully as musicians, that the way you worked before, you were looking for something that sounded like Dream Theater or Meshuggah or whatever, Pepe and Kokkie. And so you wrote something in that went towards that direction. And I think now we make music and you play what you feel, and what you feel comes from everything that you've done before, right?
Oh, for sure.
So, it almost comes after the process. So you make something and then you realize, oh, it kind of reminds me of, or you hear from us that, that progression sounds like Pain of Salvation or whatever, right? Or your vocals or...
Yeah, that's totally true. And I also think because we sometimes do throw around band names or whatever when we're like conveying ideas, right? But that's nowadays, it's not to get a riff like that band or whatever, but we know, we've grown enough that we know, like, if we're talking about, for instance, a Muse sound, we know what kind of elements that portrays for us, like, what kind of things they do, the bold things they do, and the safe, and that's basically, if we're talking like, think Muse, you'll know enough, or you'll know enough, because we'll know not the riff that then no, okay, Muse is awesome, by the way, but we're not looking then for that riff, but like for elements that right, and that's, I think we did that a lot with this album, just matching those kind of broader.
So what would Face Them sound like then?
Well, that's the obvious one, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious inspiration was, and the obvious Mars Volta.
But that's actually a perfect song to illustrate your point that you were just making, in that song. I even saw like a comment somewhere on YouTube or Facebook, whatever, today. Then like he said, like, oh, it's that comment perfectly illustrates your point, because he said something along the lines of, oh, this sounds like Deloused era
nice.
Mars Volta, but with more
weirder chords
chord
progressions.
Yeah. Anyway, so the point being is that, we, of course you take influences from all the artists you've listened to, especially maybe when you were younger. It's just so ingrained in who you are and who we are as musicians, and how we evolved as musicians together. But that song, it hopefully doesn't literally sound like Mars Volta, because that wasn't the point. It's just taking some inspiration from the energy.
Exactly.
And that's it.
Yeah, but I think if you take a high energy song with a high energy drum beat and with a bass line that is how it is, and you play like a semi-clean guitar, then it sounds like that album, right, of Mars Volta, or at least to me. So, and yeah, which is fine. It's a cool album.
Yeah, it's a really cool album. Love that album.
Yeah, but I didn't like go.
No, that's what I meant earlier. Like, we're not writing something that we want to sound like that album. We write something, or at least maybe we're just dumber than we were, and we realize that, oh, hey, that sounds like
After the fact.
maybe that's it. We just grew old and got slower in our thinking, and now we realize
That must
after
be
the
it.
fact that we made something that sounds like great.
Yeah.
So, should we maybe try to answer some other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
See how far we get this time. Oh, so this time around we didn't pre-select questions. So I have a huge list in front of me, and I'm just gonna do that one. No, I'm not. No, this one we kind of already. It's rephrased the question we already did last time.
Well, ask it again. We answer it totally different. My answer is purple.
And left-sided, purple.
Yeah, several times left-sided.
Okay, so this one I cannot pronounce from whom it is because it's like some kind of Cyrillic.
Try it.
Okay, this one is from Nuskan Kratskov.
Wow. Thank you for your question.
Nusterov.
Wow.
Okay, it's why don't you guys age? So,
Okay.
should we let that secret out? It's
Well, it kind of gives away, like, right, our master plan. We've been making a documentary secretly. We'll put it out on 165 Blu-ray discs and
CDIs, right?
CDIs, yeah. But part 99 is only VHS. Sorry. No, it's bullshit. We're trying. I think it's maybe a lot of people don't know yet. We can be super sarcastic and ironic, and
I can't.
thank you. There we go. Yes. So yeah, it's sometimes we as a group we have to keep each other like a bit serious and like focused on whatever we're working on, because we tend to go that route pretty often.
Start joking and
Yeah, because
I like that people now get. That's what I love, by the way. Going back to Face Them for just a second here. That's what I love.
Video.
Like, about the video. It's we set it online. It's just we filmed a lot in the studio recording, and that really captures like some moments of how we are that you just described. And it's a little bit like going in your underwear to show that stuff, especially because, at least to me, because I think everything we do from music, both from music to music videos, it's very stylized and very thought out, and there's definitely it's a certain thing we do, and it's very just stylized. I don't have another word for it. And this video shows like really how it's really going behind the scenes, and I think, or I can imagine that people who have never heard us speak, and now they have a chance with this podcast. But I can imagine if they just know our music, that they would think we're very serious and very, all the time. Which
probably.
not really.
But that's also why I like it.
Yeah, it's exactly.
you farted a minute ago.
No.
No? Oh. Shit. Yeah, too bad. I was like, so no, nothing. Okay, then it was your chair. Too bad.
You want me to fart?
No. Okay, continue. Sorry.
No, but I really like that insight of how we interact with each other in the studio, and you see that we're happy doing what we do. That's fun.
And also humans doing it, like, you know, having discussions and having good times for 90% of the time. 90% of the time.
A lot of misery.
Yeah, and have some bigger discussions, right? Because it's something you pour your heart in, all of us. So you got some points where we needed to have longer conversations. But that's I think that's a positive challenge.
I just realized how far we strayed from the questions.
Oh yeah, dude. We'll get back to it. We'll get back to it, Mister.
We're getting better at this, answering questions. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, to answer your question, a lot of tea, I guess.
Yeah.
No.
A lot of tea.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the thing the three of us drink a lot.
We're quite.
I love espresso. Also,
That also keeps you young. Or what?
I
Yeah.
don't know. Are we talking about that?
I also
again?
like beers. Yeah. We don't have an answer, man. We're human,
No.
just like you. Sorry.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
to give a little bit of a serious answer, I think doing what you love in life keeps you probably a little younger,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
No, I just got to the point that you guys actually were answering the question as it translated in English, and I'm just thinking maybe he just means something totally different, and thanks to Facebook Translate or whatever, the translation is why don't you guys age? But
Yeah, that's.
but maybe he means something differently.
Yeah. What do you think he means then?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What could he mean? Let's think about it for a second.
Okay. Why don't you guys age? Maybe he's angry with us. It's like, why don't you do that? You know?
Maybe he wants us to age super
I
fast.
don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe
But it's a weird question.
maybe he means our music.
Well, maybe.
Or
Yeah.
why does
maybe
he-
I just don't
I
understand
just
it.
interpret it like.
Why don't you guys get older?
Yeah. I think so.
Hello? Is it visible that I'm bald? Or
Yeah, well,
Like
but
gray
you've
hair in my
always
beard
been
and-
like that to the outside world, you know, because you went bald so early.
We're getting older. I mean,
Yeah, of course we are.
we're like, yeah, we're human. But what other ways could we interpret the question?
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's-
Maybe it's some great insult in Russia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Please clarify. Thanks, man.
Okay, let's see. Let's do another one.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do a more serious one. What kind of life experiences and specific inspirations are the lyrics based on? Timon. So I'll answer.
Go ahead. Yeah, this is mostly for you, I guess.
Yeah. I've had this question a couple of times in the last couple of weeks in the interviews. And what I noticed is also, it's often kind of going right from the bat, like off topic here.
Great.
It's like often, you know, all these interviews ask a lot of the same questions. And then the more you think about the same questions coming back, the better your answer gets, you know, because you have to kind of formulate your thoughts on the topic.
Reformulate, yeah.
And I noticed that that I'm really not very keen on sharing what specifics about the lyrics, what they're about. And it also reminded me of, I think, Seal, you know, the artist that I read
Oh,
an
you
interview.
don't mean your...
No, I mean the artist. Yeah, I think it was him that I read in some interview that he said something along the lines that he also doesn't like to explain what lyrics are about, literally. Basically, just kind of a cliche answer, maybe, but that he likes the listener to get their own interpretations to the songs, and yeah, I very much agree on that point because, like, first of all, I don't think the experiences that they're based on are interesting to other people. You know, they're very much my experiences, and what good does it do to to share those with the world anyways. It's personal, and they're only meaningful and impactful to me. But I think, or I hope at least, that that people, when they read the lyrics that that are the result of those experiences, that they can just find their own meaning and find their own experiences within them and give them their own meaning, because that's a much more beautiful process anyway, right?
Yeah, but do you think the people literally want to know what specific experience of you translated into that specific lyric?
Well,
Or
that's how this question sounds, right? The word specific is even in it. What kind of life experiences and specific inspirations are the lyrics based on?
Yeah.
But then the answer is my shitty life of the
Yeah,
last
my
5
shitty
years,
life.
right?
Basically, then you could also take it a step back and say your life in general, right? And whether it has been a little bit like rougher, and this album is a result of that. Mm-hmm. But in general, you could say, right, your life experiences with relations in general, like on every,
and also to kind of make this a little bit unpretentious, it's like it quickly sounds emotions, experiences, and all that crap, but the only reason why I gravitated to that place, because I was very much searching for identity as a lyricist on the first album, is that I found out that for me is the only place from which I can be authentic and pure and honest, and it's not because I like to talk about myself so much, but because it's the place you know best. It's your experience. That's what you're living, right? And I've tried like stepping away from that, and like, because we have many interests. We all three of us also like philosophy or whatever,
nature, life, space,
shit. Like Cosmos and all those type of documentaries. I love that type of stuff. But writing about that feels very. It's hard to explain. It's just you cannot I cannot put in the
detached. Do you feel?
Yeah, it feels detached. Yeah. So
I don't think it feels detached. I think it doesn't feel attached enough. I think where the place where you want to make music from is like deep in your soul, or in your in the feeling inside of your body or emotions, right? And I can, or at least that's how it works for me as well. If I write a lyric, I don't write a lyric about cool, this tree is lovely, and I write about something I feel, which is if I get to the point where I'm writing lyrics, it's mostly shitty, but but yeah, that emotion is really, that's for me also the easiest to translate into lyrics.
Yeah, but then more specifically, what I tried a couple of times is to use more like awe-inspiring type of stuff that we love. For example, the space type of thing.
Yeah, but I still think that's a different, or at least that's how I feel it. That's a different part of your core or something. Like if I really make music, if I really play music intuitively and I put my heart in that, that's a different set of emotions almost.
Yeah, maybe that's emotion versus fascination.
Like, I think so. Something like that. It goes deeper. It's like a boink. Yeah.
So I guess that gives a little bit of an answer, and maybe as specific as I would like to go is.
Then he goes rambling on song by song. Well, this is about.
Now, what might be fun to know is that the track order is almost chronological. It begins with Unravel, which was the first song we wrote. It was like back in the days when we were not sure if it was going to be an Exivia song or Our Oceans. Well, it turns out Our Oceans.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
We're talking about late 2017, people.
Yeah, and I thought I was in a pretty good place in life. Didn't have much to complain. And that song is actually kind of reflecting that, I think. Just the vibe of the song is kind of clear, that it's heavy, but it's not a downer song or something.
No.
And then some shit happened, and it's a lot of like dealing with issues, overcoming just different type of issues. And then at the end of the album, with a track called "With Hands Torn Open," that's kind of the track that says it's okay, just hang in there and persevere. Kind of cliche, but get back on your feet.
Yeah.
But I am very happy with that song, and I know you guys are as well, right?
Oh yeah, I was playing it in my head, so sorry.
Yeah.
I was gone for a sec.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Also, if you look, harmonically and stuff, if you want to get into that, that's the song and the album where it really starts like opening up, like almost betraying hope or whatever with that
With a very
uplifting-
dramatic ending, though, but
Yeah, but still that.
well, not dramatic.
Yeah,
maybe,
it's not.
but
What is it?
Dramatically
It's big.
uplifting.
bombastic. or,
Bombastic.
Exactly, but it's still uplifting. It's heavy. It's
yeah.
and that's the. That's nice.
Yeah. That is actually kind of, I think we talked about that already, like not on here, but amongst ourselves again. It's the third time I use that phrase. That, or at least for me, that type of uplifting kind of vibe I would like to explore for a next one is kind of like that song. There's a lot of just, the style, the vibe, the feeling of that song that I feel like continuing.
Yeah. Which is approximately the same as the first song, I guess, right?
Yeah,
It's the
it's
same
roughly in that
uplifting,
same,
energetic,
yeah.
but still with depth and
Yeah.
yeah.
I think also it's good to have those feeling or thoughts about like what we would like to have on the next album, because it might well end up kind of similar like this one, like starting positively and then having probably like a couple of downer songs in it, because that's also who we are and where we can be at points.
Yeah.
But let's see how the balances will be. But for now, we are super happy with this album that's about to come out. Like even though there are like less uplifting songs on it, but it's I mean I think it's for us a real. To me it felt like closing a chapter, really. Like once we really like had the mastered album in our hands, like was like holy shit, like.
Done. I quit. Bye bye.
Oh shit! Next. No. So yeah. And another question.
Let's do it. Well, this one is not really a question, but it's funny anyways. It's from my friend Bobby, and he's asking, what was Timon's favorite mixing project, and why was it Dialogia? Well, I guess it was Dialogia.
But why?
Oh right, shit! Now I put myself in that corner. Now I have to explain why.
I think you should have mentioned a totally different band to begin with, but
Just make it a different band. Yeah. I
No, why was
quick
it?
enough on my feet? It was actually a cool process. Not to make this a very long answer, but might be interesting because you're also a mixing engineer from time to time, right? It was an interesting process in the sense of that it started out a little bit like, I don't know if I talked about this to you guys, but it started out a little, what's the word? Just, it wasn't smooth sailing from the start.
okay, yeah.
Rocky.
So rough patches.
Yeah, in the sense that it just took me a little while to understand what they wanted to hear.
Their vision.
Yeah, their vision. And I don't know how that is for you, like in your mixing work, but for me, it took me a little time to get to the point where you know that your client is always right. It's, of course, you have a certain skill set, and you it's your expertise that you learn, but you cannot Like it doesn't matter like how untrained or how whatever your client is, they are right. It's their vision. And if you can't match that, then you are failing your job, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so with that, I did have to like swallow like a couple times, like, shit, why don't I get what they're after? And then we let it sit for a little while, I think because they were busy as well with life. And then when we came back, I guess I found it, what they were after, and they were super happy and grateful. And yeah, that's just awesome. And it's also not like I compromised to myself on the end product. It's a mix that I'm quite proud of.
Do you know what happened in between the time that you let it rest for a while and the time you went back? Was it fresh ears? Did you talk to him? Was it like shimmering their words like again, or what?
Yeah, both, I think. Yeah, just for me, like the time gave me just enough like emotional rest or whatever you want to call it to really come back with like with a clean
slate.
Yeah, just an approach of like, okay, let's, I kind of failed so far, but let's nail it this time.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah, and they were also just patient, so that was very helpful.
Yeah, that's very helpful.
But it's a cool album, like for anyone listening. It's metal, but it's also a little proggy. It has a 90s type of, kind of more retro, old Catatonia type influence in there. It has Jasper Barendrecht, who played on the first Our Oceans album on drums, and he does a terrific job. It's all over the place in terms of speed and complexity, but also subtlety. And yeah, it's a cool album, so check it out.
Nice.
Jasper's a killer, man.
Yeah, sure.
He also recorded the Egg and Bacon thing.
Yeah. Jasper's also in all Egg and Bacon.
Next question, please.
Yeah, another question to take.
Let's do it. Luis Ricardo or Louis
Ricardo. If you're French.
Lavado, yeah, not sure. Is asking a few years ago. Oh, sorry. Now I'm the mic hitter.
Go.
You haven't hit it once.
Oh yeah,
right?
Twice.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Twice.
shit. So, a few years ago, you shared your insights about your followers' gender. Is this still the same? No girls at all?
Huh.
Look it up.
Oh.
There
Neat.
was something we can. Where could we see that? Was it
On all like social
Facebook or,
stuff? You have your analytics to.
I think the ratio, if we do like a quick based on reactions we get or whatever, I think it's still 90+% male, but maybe not that much more than that. Like maybe 90-10, 95-5.
I don't know if
But-
this conversation is a safe topic. Because,
these days it's,
we're not absolutely sure if we support genders or non-genders. We're open for everything.
All our fans are humans.
Yes.
No, but by saying that,
Oh.
I think, speaking for the woke people, that then you don't.
Well, I was listening to Face Them today, and my cat looked happy. So I think my cat might feel offended right now.
Shit.
I'm not sure, but I will check later. But I think he's pissed most of the time. So
Okay.
But why didn't Mr. Zuckerberg put like cats in the statistics then?
maybe he hates cats.
But that's the thing we need to discuss then.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, I have no idea. I haven't looked into that stuff.
It's something Yuma and I have been joking around for a long time to make like video sketches that are as politically incorrect as you can imagine. And I would still love to do that.
Yeah.
it's dangerous topics these days.
We could show it nowhere, but
but
it's
just the fun of making it I think that would be enough.
Yeah, and I also think because I see a lot of people in general like how do you say that?
Humor.
Well, yeah, misinterpreting
Oh.
like humor. The fact that we would laugh about actually like a bunch of politically incorrect like stuff. It's funny because of course we're like pretty visual focused, so we see something happening, but it also for us. I know it's for all of us. Humor is also a way to deal with stuff. Like we deal with stuff that is actually terrible. Like there are enough topics in the world that's actually terrible, and to actually make fun of it is a way to deal with it.
Yeah, but it's funny because we know each other and we know that we don't mean it. So, and we know that we don't mean it to that extent that it's funny to make jokes about. That is the other, that's the opposite extent. So that's for me the whole joke about it. So if you don't know anyone, I can, if someone that I don't know makes a joke about colored people or whatever, I might also not laugh because I'm not sure. Okay, is he like a Nazi or is he, is he joking? But if you would make a joke like that, I would know that you're joking. So then immediately that becomes funny.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think for me there's literally no limitations on humor. It's just every topic goes, and like you said, it's
of course.
It's the world, the most terrible stuff in the world is the funniest, or I think the best way to talk about that stuff and to kind of normalize it is to make jokes about it. And this whole crazy hysteria thing that's going on of like people getting offended by every tiny little thing you say, it's so silly
or
to me.
Or don't say.
Oh,
for the people that will get offended if you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I don't even get it. Why you would waste your time on that instead of, just realizing that you should be able to joke or laugh about everything.
Yeah.
And that would make the world so much easier, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what I find most disappointing about it, like from a personal point of view, is that I've dabbed my toes. Can you say that? Yeah, right?
Dipped.
Dipped
your
dabbed?
toes? Dipped your
Well,
toes?
I tried a couple of times, like making some remarks on Facebook over the years that were meant sarcastically or like jokingly.
Doesn't translate.
Doesn't translate. Well, there of course, if you have a lot of people on your list, there are a lot of people who get it, but there's also, there's gonna be people, if you have so many people on your list anyway, they're not gonna get it and definitely misinterpret your point. Or don't think you're joking at all, or even if you're joking, like it's not something you can joke about. And but the point that I want to make with that is like what I find most disappointing is that people don't take the time to try to understand each other. It's like, why would you default to rallying yourself up if you read something? Why would you default to like, oh, this is terrible and I need to talk about it and I need to share my opinion about how horrible you are? Why don't you take like a breather and, oh, maybe he means it in that way?
But I think that's social media.
Yeah.
If you would write a book and someone would read it, the person would read it and put it away for a while, think about it, then read some more, and, by the end, probably come to a conclusion about what you said about that topic. But on social media, you see something and immediately you have a reaction and you have an opinion, and that opinion needs to be heard on social media by everyone. So you put it out there with exclamation points in caps lock, and everyone has to agree with you. That's, for me at least, social media, how it is, or how I experience it. At least,
but now it sounds like you're also part of that you also want to react in caps lock and stuff. That's not what you mean, right? Like that's what you see happening.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I get more off of Facebook and social media than before, because I know when Facebook started, it was fun, and you saw what people did, but now you just get a lot of advertisement for stuff that you once looked up, and you get a lot of stupid opinions from people that
Yeah.
Blah.
What was the question again?
Why don't we age? Or
Right. Interesting. Maybe have one more question and then
I think that's good.
having a good one.
how far are we anyway?
We still have a lot of unanswered ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give us a good one.
Yeah. Let me search for a little bit. You guys can talk about cookies or whatever.
Cookies.
Cookies.
Wonderful.
I don't eat that much.
No,
many
I don't have
anymore.
cookies in my home.
No?
No, because if I have them, I won't have them within 10 minutes. So I'll never have cookies in my home.
I had the same problem with was it pistachios, like the
yes,
salted
the
that you
nuts.
had to- oh man.
Also with the herb nuts you had for us, the kruidnoten.
Noten.
Even that is dangerous to have more than a couple of 100 grams on
Yeah,
your
yeah.
ball.
But the
because-
problem with that stuff is that you don't stop eating them. And I had the same problem with pistachios. Like I remember when I was living with my parents still, and I was watching a movie and I was drinking some Duvel, and I had it was like a half a kilo of pistachios or something, and I just kept eating. And at a certain point, I was getting a little nauseous, but the bag was almost done, so I just kept eating. And it's like, no, I'm sick of it. One more. Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, and it's the same with the kruidnoten. It's just too good. They're crunchy and the taste is nice, and it's you know. And they're small enough so you can take 2 or 3, so you can, you know.
Yeah, man, they're just hijacking your natural
Yeah.
instincts, right? It's like
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing
Yeah.
to the inner junk in us all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what is
Yeah,
it? The English word for it? Bodemdrift. To like
I don't know.
That you want to
the
empty
obsessive need to reach the bottom of the bag,
and
Yeah.
eat it all.
even though getting nauseous along the way of halfway already. Just like,
Timo was the worst of that. Like when
I'm
we were,
very,
when we,
yeah.
I'm not I'm not sure if you still do that, but when we were on tour, we were like, "Oh man, I'm stuffed," and then Timo was
More.
like, "Oh, all right,
Yeah.
finished everything."
No, I'm very vulnerable to that. Like, if I like something, you know, like taking one piece of chocolate is impossible. It's just the bar needs to go right now.
thank you.
But you know, you guys know that I'm a total health freak these days, and I simply don't buy those things anymore,
That's
and I
the
don't
best,
eat
right?
them, and that's I think there's a reason why, like people who suffer from like alcoholism, for example, that they cannot drink any alcohol for the rest of their life. Like that's the way you deal with that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you're okay with stuffing your face with chocolate all day. You know, if that floats your boat, then be my guest. But
Well, the thing with pistachios is
Okay.
I can just stop whenever I want, right? So
I just never want to stop.
just don't take them from me.
yeah, and that, you know, I've talked about this with. Actually, talked to my friend Evie the other day about this, and she was saying like, yeah, but I don't have that problem. I can balance myself with that stuff. You know, I just do. I don't know, like a couple days of healthy eating, and then to some extent a little bit of the unhealthy stuff. To me, I'm much, much happier if I don't take any of the unhealthy stuff and don't have to balance with, you know, with limits. Like
Yeah.
that, I find that really annoying. Rather don't have it around me. So, yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, but still, like if somebody like offers me or like little chocolate thingies in a restaurant or something, you take 1 or 2, or like not even then. So you don't have the whole bar. You only can get a small piece, or you're
Yeah.
somewhere, you know, with friends and you get a piece. Will you take it then?
Yeah, well, if it's vegan, of course, because I have
Yeah,
that
of course,
restriction.
like
but
before-
yeah.
Yes,
Sure.
and you won't run afterwards in the closet like.
No.
Where's Timon? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, last one. So, This is a more serious one by Thomas William Fraser. I keep wanting to say Frazier.
Yeah.
Frasier.
But you just
The
write
series is called
Fraser.
Frasier. Sorry, Thomas.
Yeah. Okay, so, yeah. I don't think you can spell your own name properly, Thomas.
Thank you for the time you were a fan of us.
Thanks, Thomas.
Sorry for scaring you away.
No, he's going to be really happy that we're going to try to answer his second question.
Okay.
So,
what is it?
it is, have you been able to find healing in your craft? And if so, how would you describe this?
Okay, let's go for...
Wow. All right, that's a good one.
You have something? You want to start?
Well, healing is a big word.
It's pretty small.
If you yeah, but it's bigger than the or a.
Depending on the font size.
Oh,
Spacing.
Get me there. All right. So yeah, and you? Well, yeah, healing is I think healing is a weird word because that would mean there's something not well or but whatever. But I think one of the more powerful in a good way parts of music is that it's sometimes you reach almost like a zen kind of state of mind or something that you when you're making music and you're so immersed and you're so focused on what you're doing and what your bandmates are doing and what's happening musically, and that you will almost disappear or you're right and there's no thinking, there's no thought, there's some kind of emotion, but it's just everything flows and it's
But this has an official term, right? That I cannot...
flow.
It's the flow state.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it has been written about, right? That musicians have an easier time getting to that state. Like,
Yeah.
or not always, of course. It's like it can be tricky to get there if you're trying, but...
Yeah.
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 Interesting. It certainly is a part of it is healing. I think when I think about it, for me personally, it's almost more therapy than pure healing. But healing is part of it. Like if I go to the essence of writing music, it's basically trying to make myself feel a certain something. Like good music, in my opinion, evokes feeling within me. Like it touches me on an emotional level. So when writing music and when succeeding in that, be it small or big, it can be healing. Actually, that feeling of having something in your head, your mind or your body restless, and bringing it out and listening to it back and getting that emotion and like, wow, this captured what I felt or what I'm feeling.
So what's the healing part then?
I think we talked about it a little bit in the first podcast as well. Like making music is for me a way to communicate and express myself instead of using words. I find having a good time writing music, and so whenever that goes well and I feel fulfillment, it is.
What does it heal then?
That's a good question, because that was for me. Well, it makes me feel better. Maybe that's enough, like for me to call it healing. But I was calling it a small bit healing and a larger bit therapy, because it has way more to do with,
Is it dealing with stuff, or is it?
How do you say? Dealing with stuff, but also I don't know, giving it a place, or giving feelings I cannot deal with in normal life, giving it a place in music. Like, feeling of, the world is going down and big evil corporations suck, there's nothing we can do against it. I mean, sometimes I have those, but it's awesome. It feels good. Don't laugh.
Sorry.
It feels really good to put that into a song and give it a place. So, like, this is how I feel about the topic, or, and then it feels like a temporary healing. It feels
that
Makes sense to me. I mean,
it
one of our cams has crashed for some reason.
Oh, great.
It's the cam that's on my head, so let me turn the auto switching off. I hope, by the way, that worked a little bit for the people who are watching. It's like switching by mic levels now. Anyways, nerdy stuff. Yeah, no, I find myself very much in what both of you said. Like I would also use the word therapeutic more. You know, that's a little bit like of a more appropriate word, I think. But if something is like has therapeutic value, it is inherently healing, isn't it? Kind of.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. So and I think I noticed, like the first time I noticed like how therapeutic it actually is to make music is that you know, back when I was younger and just a lot less mindful of you know your own feelings and just have less of a clue why you're doing what you're doing. I noticed a couple of times that I would feel anxious and kind of depressed and not sure how to place it. And then when I would go back to music and like write music, I would realize like, oh, I skipped like creating music for quite a while. Like I haven't composed like anything in a couple of weeks. And it wasn't like until the point that I did that again, that's like, wait a minute, it brings such relief to my life, to my whatever. And I really missed it. So that's how I discovered like what kind of therapeutic value it really has. And then I think with Our Oceans, everything got magnified because now it's not only the the instrument and the parts you play and the music you write, but it's also very much reflected in the lyrics, and to a point where it has become quite addictive. I think at this point, you know, it's just for me personally. That is the core reason why I do this. Like, you know, it's very fun to make music with you guys, but...
What you were going to say, as you do with chocolate and with alcohol, you've decided to quit because you don't like that addictive stuff in your life? Yeah, it's a tricky thing because I totally agree with you guys that it has a way of it makes it easier to deal with stuff, or it helps you balance or something. But if I would be the most balanced dude on earth, I would still want to make music. So
How do
it's
you
not
know?
it's what?
How do you know?
Well,
Have you been curious?
Exactly.
no,
balance?
I don't feel like it's driven by the need of being balanced or something, right? Because it helps with that, but it's not something that I do for that reason or something.
Yeah.
No, that's the same. Like you have multiple reasons, of course, to go after it.
Yeah.
And I think also that it goes hand in hand. You know, all of those factors, because you know why. If you have to answer like why it is therapeutic, besides just a more traditional explanation of like, you know, if you go to a psychologist, a lot of times you also like talk about whatever's going on. So if you write lyrics or you make music, you also talk literally or not, like when you play music, about what's going on. So that in itself is probably somewhat healing to most people. But that flow state you were talking about is definitely also a big part of it, because there's definitely some kind of there's a similarity between mindfulness and meditation and flow state. You know, that definitely has to do with each other. And it's almost like even if you don't know how to meditate because you haven't practiced or you're not into it, like but you have like made a lot of music and discovered that flow state, it's another way to get there. It's a different experience, but a lot of similarities still.
For me, it's well, not the comparative variation, but it is like meditation, but meditation plus ultimate brain food. Like if you get to that certain state where making music feels like you're not thinking about anything, you're not feeling conscious, like you're in the moment zone, then at a certain level you've switched things off, so you get in that flow state. But within that flow state, you can have like a train running and feeling at the same time, like be it fast stuff or be it slow stuff, but your musical brain can work super fast, like every new note feeling, how does it fit in the harmony, where I want it to feel, where do I want it to go, etc., you know? So you have that like equilibrium between your brain is at work, like...
But that is meditation to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
maybe it's
well.
mine.
Yes, I think that's a common misconception about meditation, in that people often think it's like very much turning everything off.
Yeah,
But, and that's,
never succeed in that.
Well, that's why I feel
that's-
also for years and years, because I had that misconception,
Yeah.
and that's why also I feel very differently about it now. It's
Yeah.
not turning things off; it's paying attention. But
Yeah.
That is time for a whole different topic.
Yeah, but that feeling is the same, I think, with what you get with meditation. That you're so focused on, like the state of consciousness or whatever, and that everything else somehow falls away, or it's still there, but it doesn't, affect you as much, or not at all. And that's kind of the same vibe that I have with that flow state. Like, of course, you still see people and, you're not gone, but it just doesn't come in as much or something like that, right? So you're super focused on what you're doing, and
and it's awesome.
really
Like
tranquil.
we talked a lot about it back in the day with Exvius playing live, because especially for me at least, my experience with improvising, the guitar solos in that band is, well, first of all, I didn't necessarily, it wasn't music that I could play over very easily. It was quite complicated for me. And then I'm also kind of prone to being a little bit anxious on stage, because I'm not a natural performer or anything, And so often, like more often than not, I would, be a little nervous, not the nice kind of nervous. And that, kind of boycotts the whole flow state. It's like the complete opposite. And then you kind of mess up your solos, and that's like this downward spiral that you can get on stage. You get sucked into like this pool of negativity, and it only gets worse and worse. And then after the gig, people come up to you and they say how awesome it was, and it's like, no, you're wrong. It sucked. Anyway.
you're wrong.
Wow.
Yeah, over the years, I did get better at dealing with all of that stuff. But those occasions where you do get into the flow state thing, and sometimes even the occasions where you notice that multiple of your band members are in the flow state, and you have some communication, and you see it happen, you feel it happen.
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
That's the best.
Yeah, that's magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's keep it at that.
That's a good ending.
Awesome.
So.
Thank you all for watching and listening again to our nonsense.
Oh, I promised Steph, buy merch, Power, buy our merch.
Steph, what does he get a cut?
No. He mentioned it on the podcast that I whispered buy our merch, and that he thought he saw you looking like, no, don't do that.
Did I have that look again?
I don't know. So I said to Steph that I was going to do that every time, like in the ending, and buy our merch, go to our merch store, buy it. Give us all your money. I'll help you. Buy our merch.
Oh, man. But anyway, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.
All right.
Bye. Later. Bye.